Good morning, everyone. I would like to go ahead and call to order meeting of the Kent County Board of Commissioners. It may be our last, or at least our penultimate meeting of the year. So ask our clerk to go ahead and take the roll call.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Commissioners Bujek. Present. Diaz. Here. I hear that. Medla. Here. Gooden.
Here.
Baker.
Here.
Brand. Here. Oliver King. Here. Hennessy. Here.
McLeod.
Here.
Sparks. Teal.
Here.
Vice Chair Brevy.
Here.
Commissioners Coleman.
Here.
Burl.
I'm here.
Ponstein.
Here.
Hildenbrand.
Here.
DeBoer.
Here.
Merchant.
Here.
Antor.
Here.
Green. Chair Stack.
I'm here.
Mr. Chair, you have 19 members present, 2 absent. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. I'll now call on Commissioner Ponstein for the invocation.
Thank you, Chair Stack. So when I was asked to provide today's invocation, as a Christian, I would have plenty to talk about. But watching the daily, nightly news and obviously what we supposedly called a debate last night, a couple different things came to mind. So I'd like to briefly consider 2 ideas. The first idea is the word election. This room is filled with elected people, folks that got the votes and moved on to serve. And let's not forget our staff. They're not selected by elections, and they certainly have a strong vocational calling for what we do as a county. So there's a lot of influence in this room. For the elected officials, though, that means you were called by your neighbors to serve the community. Why were you called? That brings up my second thought, is that your neighbors thought that you showed common values or virtues that are widely admired and respected. Things like integrity, humor, strength, patience, self-control, grace, justice, collaboration, vision, and certainly wisdom. And let's not forget the virtue that's the testing point for all those, and that's courage. We've been called to this service by local government, by our neighbors, in the hopes that we would collectively lead, demonstrating those values and virtues that are praised all across our beautiful county and country. What a high calling. So today, go fulfill your election, your calling to serve your neighbors, and be blessed as you do so. So today I ask the Lord to pray for your blessings on these women and men who have assembled to do the business of governments and civil service. Bless them for their commitment, Lord. Give them the wisdom of King Solomon as they care for this community, and let them serve joyfully as they are led by your Holy Spirit. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll now move to item number 5, special order of business, and I will note in the special order of business that the submission from our Drain Commissioner has been submitted to us in written form and with slides, and those are being accepted and will be filed on record to comply with the requirements. The second item of special order of business is from the Kent County Convention Arena Authority, and we have Rich McKeegan with us this morning to and Rick Wynn, in no specific order, to present to us on the Convention Arena Authority. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having us. I am Rick Wynn, current chair of the Convention Arena Authority, also one of your appointees, so thank you very much. And hopefully as chair, you feel like I have the county's back, which I always consider. So we're here just to give a quick snapshot. Rich McKeegan's our executive director. There's 20 slides, but we will breeze through them. Try to make it quick. But if you have questions, feel free to stop us. So, Rich?
Thank you. And as Yoda says, there is no try. It'll be quick. The CAA, there we go, established in '99. It is a Michigan statutory authority. It's got city, county, state, and private industry representation. You've got the structure here, basically the CAA org chart. One point is that the liaison committee is not represented here because technically it wasn't part of the enabling legislation. It was created by the CAA. So over and above this, you've got the liaison committee with the city commissioners Bless, Moody, and O'Connor, and the county commissioners Hennessy, Hildebrand, and Merchant. So thank you very much for your participation in that regard. The remainder of the board chairs, Rick and Mandy Bolter, the county representatives. The buildings are managed by ASM Global, company I work for, about 61,000 employees, worldwide company, largest venue management company in the world, largest presenter of live entertainment in the world, the largest convention space manager in the world. Just a snapshot the last 10 years of the financial performance of the building. One thing I'd like to draw attention to is the capital line item, so the third from the bottom. If you add up all of those bracketed numbers ending in 4.353, that's $26,815,000 in capital that the CAA has self-funded. These buildings in the vast majority of other communities operate at deficits, let alone operate in the surplus and then have the ability to spend capital of their own. Very, very unique, something we should all be very proud of. Selfishly, though, my hope is it's never lost sight of the fact that this is extremely unique for North America. The rink has been around since '96, continues to be one of the most successful mid-size, so that's 10 to 15,000 seat capacity venues in North America. A couple of highlights from last fiscal year that would have ended June of '23. Convention Center, the old auditorium in '33, Welsh Auditorium 75, Grand Center in 80, and then the new building in '05. So we're getting close to 20 years old for the new DeVos Place. Some highlights there. We just finished up our Wine and Food and Beer Festival, self-created event that has been very successful. The theater, home to 4 arts tenants, opera, ballet, symphony, and Broadway provider, as well as anything else we can put in there. Also, it's been around for close to 30 years. Some highlights from last year. We also did an economic impact study. It's the second one the CAA has done. The first one was done by Anderson Economic Group a few years back. This one was done by the University of Michigan Sport Consulting Group. Found that the arena outputs, DeVos Place outputs, and the total. To put this in perspective, I did some math. The dollar figures for the arena alone, assuming or knowing that the arena was around for 28 years, is just under $1 billion over those 28 years. At the convention center for 18 years, it's about $8.5 billion. So combined, you're talking about around $10 billion of economic impact for the community of Kent County. I think it's pretty significant, and I think it demonstrates spectacular vision and wise investment on behalf of the city and the county for getting these 2 facilities built. Just to show growth, it's about a 64% increase from the last time we did this study by AEG. 1,265 employees. Community involvement, there's a bunch of information here. Again, we'll get all this information to you electronically so you can go over it at your leisure. But the one thing I'd like to reference specifically, the food and beverage provider at the arena is Savor, a sister company of ASM Global's. And if you look at that middle bullet, the red highlighted number, over $1 million last year was donated to charity because those charities had people working, volunteering in the concession stands at the arena. This is a program we've been doing for a number of years. Again, another economic impact number that isn't part of what we've been talking about so far, but I think brings great value to the nonprofit community for West Michigan. So the question then is, what's next? The Acrisure Amphitheater, hopefully opening in '26, 12 to 13,000 capacity venue. You've already seen this, I think, from Grand Action in terms of the economic impact and development that it will stimulate. Soccer stadium, 8,500 capacity venue for a minor league, so put it in baseball vernacular, a AAA, basketball, a G League, hockey and AHL type of franchise on the soccer side, 8,500 capacity. We also did talk about a hotel, convention hotel, that was identified by CSL with the Destination Asset Study a number of years ago. That work we had updated or relooked at by HVS, Hotel Valuation Services. We've just re-engaged them because that was pre-COVID. We acknowledge that the industry has changed. The industry in our market is different than most other markets, as well as the local market conditions have changed relative to the number of hotel rooms that are now available. So we are just engaging HVS now to take a look to see how accurate that study is, what needs to be considered, if anything, to continue to move this community forward from a destination perspective. That's everything I've got.
All right. I'm smiling, Rich. Good.
I'm happy.
All right. Any questions or comments? Commissioner Diaz.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. That was probably one of the quickest ones we've seen this year. I had questions specifically in regards to the soccer stadium and the amphitheater. So the soccer stadium, we discussed it, I think, at our last Board of Commissioners meeting. And a few of us mentioned that if news articles are to be believed, the parking lot by where the Y and the Big Boy is, if not the only, well, one of the locations considered for the soccer stadium, if not the only one. But I was wondering if there was any current discussions around different locations where the soccer stadium could go, specifically in other parts of the county. As I'm sure you know, there's a lot of development going on the west side with the soccer stadium, the amphitheater, the conversations around the zoo. And so I suppose that was my question, is what your current thoughts are on potential locations for the soccer stadium.
So I can say that Grand Action really has taken the directive for both projects, the amphitheater and the soccer stadium. I know with certainty a number of sites were looked at for both projects. The sites that were settled upon based on a number of criteria that Grand Action had a couple of other parties rank and establish. Whether that is changeable, I can't speak. I think Grand Action would need to speak to that, and I don't know if you'd say.
No, I mean, that's correct.
So it sounds like the location has been settled upon for the soccer stadium. Like that's,
I don't want to speak for Grand Action. That's my understanding.
okay.
Yeah.
Also in regards to the soccer stadium, are there, what kind of outreach is being done to various communities in the county as far as how accessible that will be? Because I think I read an article that said that before there can be really any talks around like which team would actually play there has to be location and actual plans for a soccer stadium. So yeah, what is the current plan for doing that outreach to community?
And again, I think this is much more a Grand Action-driven process. I can say with certainty for the amphitheater, 26 different community engagements were had from community outreach specific for the amphitheater. My presumption is the same process will take place for the amphitheater, for the soccer stadium.
Cool.
But again, that is something that Grand Action continues to move forward rather than the CAA.
I see. Thank you. I appreciate that. I look forward to seeing what that outreach looks like. If I could switch to the amphitheater now, can you remind me how much public funding has gone into the amphitheater at this point?
So currently with the stack, there is 30, and if you include the 5 for the relocation of the sewer, 35 from the state. The county, thank you very much, just approved a $15 million contribution. The CAA put $5 million in.
The DDA.
The DDA
Through
is.
the city.
Yep. And, yeah, I think that's everything. But I don't have the stack in front of me, so I might be
It looks
missing
like
something.
close to 100 million, if not over it.
I think it's shy of that, but yes,
Okay.
yeah.
So maybe a week and a half ago, I sent a message to Ms. Wood, and she then directed one of my questions to Rich, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yep, to me.
To you, yeah. So specifically in regards to public access of the amphitheater. So my understanding is what she said is that the facility will be available for anyone to rent based on booking policy and availability, and the green space and plaza outside of the venue will be available to the public as park space. And I asked how much, the estimates of how much it would cost to rent the amphitheater, and if the booking policy was prepared already. And she said to her knowledge, not quite yet. And so I know that it's very early in the process. I believe it was told to us at our last meeting that it's really too early to know the exact figures or even an estimate of how much it would cost to rent that. But my question is, if we're putting this much public funding into this amphitheater, is there going to be an opportunity for local Kent County residents who maybe aren't as affluent to band together to rent those facilities when there's not, a big event going on? Because obviously it's going to be outside, so it's only going to be open for a part of the year anyways. But assuming that there's a weekend where there's not much going on, are there going to be some type of discounts or anything like that to allow local residents to be able to use those facilities?
So our intent is to have the buildings, and I would extend this to the soccer stadium as well, as busy as possible. That's our intent. In my experience, depending on what the utilization actually is, the rent is actually a small piece of the cost versus the expenses it takes to put on the event. So bear that in mind. If the building is rent-free, it still may be a very expensive event to put on. However, it depends on the event. I would point to utilization at the arena and the convention center, which we have very strong, ambitious, and intentional efforts, especially through our community inclusion group, which is our diversity, equity, inclusion group that has been around for 15 years now, to try and get the community engaged, especially communities of color, as engaged as possible in the buildings currently. I would foresee that being continued upon with these two new venues.
That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And again, thank you, gentlemen, for presenting. You're an important partner of ours in the community, and look forward to realizing some significant projects going forward. So thank you so much.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Carol, Commissioner
Oh.
Hennessy had a question.
Sorry, I excused you too quickly. Yeah, I'm sorry, Commissioner Hennessy.
Thank you. Thank you for this report. Last night I was leaving a reception, and I had the occasion to get on the elevator with an AMS employee, also a DK security employee, who lives in my district. And she was talking about how the help that is given through dash lots or what have you, to get to and from work because of parking downtown being expensive and oftentimes, not accessible. But she also had a little bit of anxiety or unsureness about, how this all would be going forward. And so perhaps, as we have all these other changes on the demands for parking and changes in dash lots and all the rest of it, how someone like my constituent here can be assured that the help that she's getting now will continue into the future. And maybe you could just talk a little bit about some of that support you give to your employees.
I would say, Commissioner Hennessy, you and I are on the same page, because if it's a little bit of an issue today, it's a big issue in the not-too-distant future, with the continued growth of downtown. The CAA are exploring different options, independent of anything else that might be going on, to try and assist with that, as well as we are having conversations with the city specific to transit, dash service, routing, rerouting, security, to try and find as much parking for the service sector for downtown as possible that is affordable and convenient and safe. So it's top of mind. We continue to work with the city to find options that are viable. It's only going to get tougher,
Yeah.
but I can say it's absolutely a priority of mine, and it's been communicated, and the CAA agree it's a priority of theirs.
Thank you. I'm glad that you're, thinking about it. Not that you have any answers going forward, but at least it is top of mind. I appreciate that.
We think we even have a couple of answers. Well, we're exploring a couple of answers right now. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Again, sorry, Commissioner. With that, thank you so much for your presentation this morning. All right, we'll move to the next item, which is public comment. This is the first opportunity for public comment. If there is anyone here from the public that wishes to address us on agenda items only, please, agenda items only at this point. If so, please identify yourself, and you have up to 3 minutes. I see no items for public comment at this point, so we'll move to item 7, and I will call on Commissioner Ponstein for our consent agenda.
Thank you, Chair Stack. I move the consent agenda.
Support.
Motion to approve the consent agenda was supported by Vice Chair Breeby. Questions or comments? If not, Madam Clerk, this is a roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the motion to adopt the consent agenda, Commissioners Boojak.
Yes.
Diaz. Pekla.
Yes.
Wooden.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
LeGrand. Oliver King. Hennessy.
Yes.
McLeod.
Yes.
Sparks. Teal. Breivy.
Yes.
Coleman.
Yes.
Burl.
Yes.
Ponstein.
Yes.
Hildenbrand. DeBoer.
Yes.
Merchant.
Yes.
Antor.
Yes.
Green. Chair Steck.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 20 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. The consent agenda is adopted.
Thank you very much. We'll now move to our resolutions for this morning. And for our first resolution, note in the new agenda distributed, there's been a slight change in the sequence of these, but I will call on Commissioner Coleman for our first resolution.
Thank you, Chair. I move Resolution 141, our ARPA funding approval for the Fallsburg Dam, Fuller Campus Clinic, and Medical Examiner Facility projects from the Administrator's Office.
Is there support for that motion? Supported by Commissioner Hildebrand. Let me make a note as we take up any discussion that commissioners may have, that this is a slight change from the original motion that was allocated before today. And I want to acknowledge Commissioner McLeod brought to our attention earlier that the jail controls issue had not been expressly identified in the reservation resolutions last year when we took up ARPA. And since it was not expressly identified in that reservation, agreed with her it's appropriate to pull it out. We'll deal with that separately through alternative financing processes next year. So, thank you for that, Commissioner, and we will proceed now with any discussion on the motion. Yes. And the funding that was identified originally was added to the medical examiner facility for allocation, knowing that the ultimate cost of that will certainly far exceed, or appears to be likely to exceed, the amount of this allocation anyway. So with that, any questions or comments on the motion? 1, 2, 3, Eric, go ahead.
Just want to express my gratitude. I voted for this resolution previously when it was in committee, given the fact that I think all 3 of these projects and the 4th project are deserving of investment. They have in themselves extenuating circumstances, either cost overruns beyond what we originally anticipated, an inability, despite numerous efforts to secure additional funding for the Fallsburg Dam, and certainly the need to invest in improvements at our jail. I'm certainly glad to see that we'll be finding other ways to pay for that investment and remain committed to making sure that happens. So I'll be voting for this resolution.
Thank you. Commissioner Wooden, yes. Anyone else? Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you, Chair. So I just wanted to say, I said a lot about this in finance, so I'm not going to say a lot today. But I just wanted to say that I do appreciate that we are supporting in this resolution things that we had agreed upon to support with the original ARPA allocation. And I'm really happy to know as well that the jail controls will be funded, that they will be funded, but funded from a source that is not this ARPA allocation. So thank you, everyone, for making that adjustment.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Commissioner Diaz.
Thank you, Chair. As you all know, for the last year, I've been bringing up our ARPA funds and how important these funds can be used to benefit our constituents and the county as a whole. As I said from the beginning, I would have wished that we would have had another process similar to what was happening last year, especially considering the fact that this board was expanded, that there are new commissioners, and that there is representation on this board that has never been here before. I understand that the board last year made the decision to set aside these almost $10 million for project overruns. But frankly, that was the last board. This is a new board. It's a new year. There is information that we know about today that we didn't know before. For example, my understanding is that there was a hope that that the county would be able to get funding from federal or state resources to fix the Fallsburg Dam that is in danger of flooding the city of Lowell. And unfortunately, that wasn't able to be done. But as I also mentioned, in the state budget that was passed this year, the state of Michigan allocated $4.5 million for local governments to partner with an organization called RIP Medical Debt that focuses on paying off medical debt for constituents within our jurisdiction. And for every dollar that is allocated to that organization, they can pay off $100 or more in medical debt for residents. And so my understanding is that for this county to take advantage of that funding, we have very, very limited pools of money from which we can pull to partner with this organization if we so chose to. Unless I am mistaken, my current understanding is that the only pot of money that we currently have that can be used for this is this pot of money from the American Rescue Plan Act. And as of now, nobody has told me that that's not the case. And so if this board moves forward with approving this resolution as written, we will lose out on the opportunity to pay off millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars for medical debt for Kane County residents at least. If we don't do this now, we're going to lose that opportunity. And so because of that, I have prepared an amendment that has been shared and distributed to all of the commissioners. This amendment would move $135,000 from the Fallsburg Dam to partner with RIP Medical Debt. The county would receive a one-to-one match from the state of Michigan, $135,000 for a total of $270,000. Again, because that can be 100x'd, that would turn into at least $27 million worth of money, of funds that we can use to pay off medical debt for Kent County residents, helping to improve not only the lives of those families, over 10,000 families, but also our local economy, which I know we are all focused on improving and maintaining. So I'm asking my colleagues to vote in favor of this amendment, because again, if we don't do this now, we're going to lose the opportunity. I know at the executive committee meeting, and I'll say this really quickly, some very good questions were asked of me by the chair, specifically in regards to how RIP Medical Debt decides who gets this benefit, and out of every dollar that they are allocated, how much goes to administrative costs. And so I was able, fortunately, to get answers to those questions. A representative from RIP Medical Debt said typically 91% of our budgets go into direct program expenses, and 10% of those direct expenses are for RIP Medical Debt's indirect costs. Things like office rent that we don't assign directly to any given project. The direct expenses include the cost to purchase qualifying medical debt, the cost to analyze medical debt files, and identify people who qualify for relief because they are in financial hardship. Costs for lawyers to negotiate contracts with the hospitals, and costs for other RIP staff who work on recruiting the hospitals, keeping careful accounting and expenditure records for each grant, things like that. He also said we acquire and cancel medical debt for everyone who meets the eligibility criteria. People in households up to 400% of the federal poverty limit, or with medical debt at 5% or plus of their household incomes. 400% of the federal poverty level, if I'm not mistaken, is just under $60,000 a year. We don't acquire accounts that are under $25 after adding up amounts owed by each individual that are under $25. We also don't acquire accounts for people whose medical bills have been discharged in a bankruptcy proceeding and people who have passed away. So with that, I make this motion to amend this resolution, and I hope that I will have a second, and I hope that this resolution passes. Thank you.
All right, a motion has been made to amend the underlying motion to approve the allocation of the remaining ARPA funds. That motion was in writing and distributed to the board. Is there support for that motion?
Support.
It is supported by Commissioner LeGrand. Any discussion on the motion to amend? Commissioner Antor.
Thank you, Chair. With all due respect, my fellow commissioner, I think that this is kind of another example of some things that have been going on, which we've taken our eyes off the ball. Much like higher education funding, where we continue to give, $1.6 billion, I think, to our state colleges, with virtually no oversight, and yet we're expecting taxpayers to forgive college debt. I would make the case that we should have the universities forgive that debt. Same way with here. A lot of the healthcare providers during the COVID pandemic were able to take advantage of some really shoddy bookkeeping and what turned out to be a dog and pony show. They were given money that followed anybody that came into a hospital or healthcare facility. They had the label COVID related to them, even if they were coming in for a tonsillectomy. If it turns out they had COVID, there was a grant attached to that, and the healthcare providers are absolutely flush with cash in one of the biggest scams in the history of our state and country. So I would ask that the healthcare providers do exactly what you're looking for and reimburse those people instead of we the people again, because the money's out there, they've got it. Let them forgive that debt or help them out if they see fit, because they can afford to do so. Thank you.
Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you, Chair. So I think this is a great, great effort to relieve debt for our citizens. I really do. My concern at this point is that this would be a new proposal, and we just removed something that was a new proposal from the ARPA funding list. And so, although I do support this, I have some questions about RIP medical debt that I still need to be clear on, because I took a look at their 990s and it was not clear that how they were spending all of the money that they had received. And so although I think this is a great endeavor, I'm not able to support it because it's a new project that was not originally in the ARPA proposals that we approved last year. But I would like to see this come back up again once we have a little bit more information, I guess, on the outcomes of RIP medical debt itself, because I'm not sure. But I do think that we as a county should do something to help relieve debt for our citizens in terms of medical debt, because the costs are outrageous and many people don't have insurance, and it is a huge burden on our citizens. So I like the idea of the proposal, but because it's new, I'm not going to be able to support it from this pot of funding, but I would like to see it come back up again at some point for us to reconsider.
Commissioner Sparks.
Thank you, Chair. I have a couple questions, well, maybe one. Once we have the funding, how will we distribute the funding to who? Do we need to create a new committee to make sure that the proper people get the funding? And then how much when people have medical debt, usually it's tens of thousands of dollars that really, take them down, but it could be a small amount as well. So I know that there are foundations within the hospitals that do give money, especially if they see that someone does not have insurance once they come in. I agree with Commissioner Antor that the hospitals do have lots of money through healthcare, through insurance, through big pharma. So how would this work with giving the money to whom, and is the county going to be responsible for giving or making sure that RIP is doing what they need to do?
I'll take those as a bit of a rhetorical questions because I don't have the answer to those. Yeah,
And I just want to put it on the record.
thank you. All right. Vice Chair Breedy.
Thank you, Chair. You know, I am actually appalled by this and that this would even be something we would consider at this time after spending almost a year going through all the 300 ARPA requests, that we would consider spending, this amount of money on a project that wasn't vetted, a project that our community hasn't, come forward with. We had a whole process. If this was something the community was interested in doing at the time a year ago, this, would have been something that we could have considered. I understand there's new commissioners on the board that were not here at this time, but I'm sorry, it's too late. We need to move on and continue to spend down these dollars, and I think the projects that are outlined in the original motion are exactly where it needs to go. I also, there's someone I follow on social media, her name is Sharon McMahon, and she just recently did a campaign to help pay off medical debt. And through her followers, she was able to help raise about $800,000 to pay off about $80 million in debt. This is a individual on social media that's doing that, and I think that is an amazing way to use these funds and to use her platform to support the community. I don't think it's a good use of taxpayer dollars to fund a program like this, so I would not support this amendment. Also, looking into the company, what I've learned is that last tax year they had about $87 million in assets on their books, yet they only spent about $7 million in actual relief. So I question how these dollars are actually being spent and, question the charity itself. So I think if, we have an interest in paying off medical debt, it's something we could maybe encourage our constituents to do on their own through the organization. It is a 501c3 from what I understand. So they have the ability to do that. I don't think it's a wise use of our taxpayer dollars at this point.
Great. Any other? Commissioner Coleman.
Thank you, Chair. It's an interesting project. I think that, like, an interesting idea to me. I've seen some local churches that have, done this, where they have, this debt that's like, so so far from being paid that they're willing to sell it for pennies on the dollar. It's an interesting kind of charitable thing. I think when it comes to the ARPA dollars, it's kind of been said before, but I just echo that. Like, we had to last year kind of appropriate all of the ARPA dollars, and this is really just. It's not like we're at a stage where we're like appropriating dollars. This is the pot of money that was like the internal projects / contingency funds that were already appropriated last year in the ARPA process, and we're just at the point of specific dollar allocations, more of just an internal budgeting thing for the county. So I think for that reason we can't really put something that's brand new like this into the mix, but it is interesting. I'm curious, maybe a future discussion, just with a significant number of children medical expenses in my own personal family. I'm very familiar with how difficult like medical expenses and medical debt can be as an impact to people and families. But I would be interested to look more into this process, because having personally been there with significant medical debt and having to navigate the hospital systems and all of that, my understanding, unless something has changed recently, is medical debt is treated quite differently in terms of like impact on a person's credit reporting and your options as far as discharge and bankruptcy, those kind of things. So debt that's this far, where, $135,000 can turn into covering many $1 million of medical debt. I'd just be interested in further research, on that. And I'm, at this moment, seems to me like that kind of charitable work is better left to, the nonprofit and religious, and personal charity. I think that it definitely doesn't belong in the ARPA allocation. But I'm interested in, further conversation on it and looking into it more. But it definitely does not, in my opinion, belong. So I'll be voting against this particular amendment.
Thank you. Commissioner Baker.
Yeah, thanks. I just, this is Artemis said, I want to, first of all, thank Commissioner McLeod. I think that her points are very important. You guys spent a lot of time last year. I was in the audience when the decisions were rolled out last year, and of course, each of us who wasn't a part of the process may have had disagreements, but at the same time, that was done. I've spent all year long getting to know people in my community, my constituents. Many of them have asked me for very good reasons whether or not ARPA funds were going to still be available. I've always told them no. I mean, this includes housing for seniors, small business development, talent development programs, all very worthy goals and all very worthy things that would impact the broader Kent County community and certainly my constituency. But I've said to them clearly that those funds are no longer available, that they're going to be used for other things that were already considered last year. I do want to applaud Commissioner Diaz for this work, and I think that everyone, if you know Commissioner Diaz, he has consistently from day one looked for opportunities to find ways to improve the lives of people that live in this community. And so even though I'll vote against this amendment for the reasons I've already stated, I think that having commissioners who diligently look for ways to improve the lives of county residents should be something that we honor. That's it.
Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Chair. At the risk of being too repetitious, I'll just say I echo the sentiments of Commissioners McLeod and Baker. And I would just add to this, those who have suggested that this could be something handled through the philanthropic community or through private contributions. Given that there is state money available to match these dollars that have already been appropriated, even if this is not the pot of money to do, we have in the past been a pass-through entity. We have been a convener. And I would urge us to consider, through our work with our Strategic Impact Director and other members of our staff, to see what we can do, how we can act as a convener to bring together the philanthropic community, evaluate this organization more fully, vet the questions that have been asked at this dais, and see if this is a worthwhile investment to make, and if so, see what we can do to pool private funding to flow through this organization, if only because that may allow us to double those dollars through the state appropriation. Not to use general fund dollars, not to use ARPA dollars, but given the potential impact, despite questions that I still believe need to be answered, whether that's something worth serving as the role of convener, if only so that we can double the potential impact we can make. So that's the challenge I would at least pose to us, though I will be voting no on the amendment.
Thank you. Commissioner DeBoer.
Thank you, Chair. I move to call the question.
Question has been called. No objection on the motion calling the question?
Still needs.
Sorry? Then I need a vote on the motion call, or the call of the question.
Yeah. I'll second.
It's been seconded. All right, roll call.
Yes.
It's a roll call vote on the calling of the question.
This is a
Which
roll
would
call
then-
vote on the
which would then-
calling of the question.
It then requires to go ahead and take the vote on the motion to amend and would stop further debate.
Roll call vote to call the question made by Commissioner DeBoer, supported by Vice Chair Breivy. Commissioners Bujak.
Yes.
Diaz.
No.
Pakla.
Yes.
Wooden.
No.
Baker.
Yes.
LeGrand.
Yes.
Oliver King.
No.
Hennessy.
No.
McLeod.
No.
Sparks.
No.
Teal.
Yes.
Vice Chair Breivy.
Yes.
Commissioners Coleman.
Yes.
Burl.
Yes.
Ponstein.
No.
Hildenbrand.
Yes.
DeBoer.
Yes.
Merchant.
Yes.
Antor.
Yes.
Green. Chair Steck.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 13 yeas, 9 nays. The motion to call the question passes. I'm sorry.
It does not pass. It is a two-thirds.
And
Oh, and I'm sorry,
13
I had
plus
7,
minus.
yes. Sorry. 13 yeas, 7 nays. The motion fails for lack of two-thirds vote.
It's a two-thirds vote.
You needed 14.
No.
Sorry, us mathematically challenged individuals had to go back and do our math one more time. I think it took 14 votes to pass, so therefore, we are back into the consideration of the underlying motion to amend the motion. So, I think I'm up to Commissioner Bujak.
Thank you, Chair Steck. I think what our motion before us is a decision on whether or not we support taxpayer-funded debt relief. And the question I have for the chair or the county administrator is, has Kent County ever in its history had a program of taxpayer-funded debt relief?
No,
Thank you.
not to my knowledge. I can't speak for the whole history of Kent County, but it would be illegal to do so under the general fund, which is the most common source of funding for governmental operation.
All right, that answers your question. So, Commissioner Ponce.
Thank you, Chair Stack. So, yeah, I like things moving along too, but to call a question when not everyone has had the opportunity to speak is just wrong. So, my comments, Ivan, you're very passionate. I appreciate your voice for the underserved, often overlooked people. And I guess the thing I thought about most of the night last night was we always talk about the end result of the problem, and that's the debt that the citizens have been saddled with. Whether it's student loan debt, we always talk, well, they can't pay it back. They need a hand up. And I'm all for that. But we never talk about the institutions and the outrageous amount of tuition that they charge for a college education. Same thing with medical debt. The problem, once again, is that they're saddled with debt, and they're struggling to then, it may prevent them from getting a home or other things, because they're paying down this debt. We never talk about how insurance companies operate, why companies don't provide insurance. I mean, I'm blessed to work for a company that we've got a benefits package that I believe is second to none. And they're still showing record profits doing all of that. We don't talk about the fee schedule for hospitals, what insurance companies will cover, won't cover. Those are the problems. The problem isn't the debt itself, but we always get caught up in that cycle. I mean, what's next? Electric cars come out, people can't afford them. That's the only option now is electric cars instead of gas cars, which are less expensive. Are we going to bail them out next and just completely ignore the rush to get to EVs on whether it's even possible? I mean, I challenge anyone on that debate just to look at what a mine looks like to extract the minerals to create a battery. any battery for, that fact. So, it's an important issue, and it's something that we should be looking at. But, the federal government, I think as I was sleeping last night, I think the national debt approached 34 trillion. They're constantly passing money through for everything in this world. And they pass money down to the state. And then the state wants to pass money down to us, but we've got to match so much. And, the same with the state, if we're going to accept this, you got to match. I mean, it's just crazy how we allocate money. And so many priorities that should be priorities, and medical, care for our citizens are important. But we also seem now that we should welcome everyone into this country, and we've always been a welcoming country. But, we can't take care of the people we have now. We're sending billions overseas to fight wars that I don't know if there's any end in sight. But, as a country, this debate's got to begin at the federal level if we're going to address this issue. I think I remember, President George Bush had a prescription plan that was going to save money. President Obama had a plan for health care and prescriptions. I think Donald Trump also proposed something, and now President Biden has got something to reduce all this. And I don't know the last time you checked, I don't think prescription costs are going down too much. So, I mean, there's definitely a problem, but I think the problem is government and how we, seek solutions. And I don't know if this is the answer or not. There's still a lot of questions out, but we got to do a better job as government agencies. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments? All right. Commissioner Diaz for your second.
Thank you, Chair Steck. Seeing as there was already a motion to call the question, I'll be as quick as I can. I agree. More so the insurance companies are flush with cash because unfortunately we have a system where we're allowing entities to profit off of denying people health care. And so I very much agree with some of my colleagues that we need to have fundamental answers and reform around our healthcare system so that we're not put into this position to begin with. And I look forward to having those further discussions and seeing if maybe we can ally to advocate to our state and federal electeds to address those things. As many others said, again, yes, especially younger generations are saddled with education debt and healthcare debt. I don't have any kids. I do have nephews and nieces, or a niece. Some of my colleagues do have kids. And if those families are not affluent, those kids are still being told in elementary school today that they need to go to college and take on thousands of dollars in debt just to advance in life. And so I think that those are further discussions that need to be had at the different levels than here. Many have said that this is a new proposal and therefore it does not belong in this resolution, that the decisions have already been made and that it's too late. That's not true at all because we're still having this discussion, so clearly it's not too late. And as I said, decisions were made last year in the last board. This is a new board. This is 2023, not 2022. So the reasoning given that it's too late and that it's a new proposal and therefore it can't, it shouldn't be included here. I reject that premise wholeheartedly because I very much disagree. We were this close to funding a project that was not included in ARPA discussion. So I think that speaks for itself. As far as how it works and specific details, I've asked multiple times to see if either commissioners from other counties who have already moved forward with this or somebody from RIP Medical Debt would be allowed to speak to us to answer these some very good questions. That was not allowed. It was told to me that this was not the proper time to do that at that time, and since then it has not been allowed. Questions as far as questioning the integrity of the charity or how they're best using their funds. The state of Michigan deemed the organization fit to receive $4.5 million. So I trust the decision of the state, I guess I'll put it that way. Some commissioners expressed that they have medical debt in their own family. I also grew up with a family that had medical debt and increased medical debt for as long as I can remember. As many of you know, I was a loan officer at Lake Michigan Credit Union when I was elected to this board. I'm not gonna lie, we were told that we had to focus more so on consumer debt when making those decisions and when counseling people. But I had multiple people denied, well, I didn't deny them, but the credit union denied multiple people credit. And they based their decisions multiple times on various examples on medical debt specifically. People who didn't have other types of debt. A lot of young people don't have any type of consumer history, but they do have medical debt, and because of that, they are denied credit. Again, if we're willing to spend millions of dollars to fund private entities that are going to be making a profit, we should be willing to do this. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner LeGrand.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate Commissioner Diaz bringing this before us, and I appreciate the chance that we had to debate this openly. It brings back a lot of memories of ARPA decisions. I also want to thank Commissioner McLeod for her work, her dogged work, sorting out our own resolutions for the remaining dollars. She is a colleague who I greatly look up to, and I appreciate her leadership on this and helping us sort that out. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Pacla.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just briefly, having a quick opportunity to chat. On one hand, with this amendment, I appreciate the need for us to consider conversations around medical debt. I just pulled up the Urban Institute's data on it. 13% of our community has medical debt that's in collections. To Commissioner Sparks' point previously, it turns out that the median of that medical debt is $440. So 50% of that medical debt is less than $440. On the other hand, I'm hearing Commissioner McLeod's voice in my head on the Finance Committee the other day in speaking about the promise that this board made to our community with the ARPA funding. And so I support Commissioner Wooden's conversations previously about looking into other ways that we could potentially serve as a pass-through entity for the matching dollars. I dislike significantly leaving dollars on the table. We just had a conversation about that previously, but I can't support this amendment as it's written, given the conversations that this board has had in deliberations around the ARPA funding. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, with that, before I have the vote, let me just make a couple of comments. While I'm going to applaud my colleague, Commissioner Diaz, for your initiative in this, I simply can't support the motion to amend. We worked very hard last year to identify a process by which the public could participate in the allocation of these ARPA dollars. And we created a system that I thought was very robust in its ability to evaluate each of these proposals, to do an analysis that fairly compared the integrity, the capacity, the ability of these projects to be transformative in our community. We used outside sources to do that analysis. We did internal teams to do that analysis. We spent months as commissioners going through the details of each of these projects. And in a competitive way, we measured and we balanced those projects against hundreds of others. And we did have 320 proposals, all of these individuals and groups from the community that played by the rules, that followed the process. And at the end of the day, we could not fund all of those projects. We said no to hundreds of community projects that had great potential. And I felt bad about that. I know we all felt bad about that. So to now pull another project that frankly could have been in the mix had there been an initiative back then, but was not, to pull one of those out and to identify it, to give it specialized treatment at this point of the process, I think really slaps the face against a lot of community participants who played by the rule. And I just think that's fundamentally unfair, no matter what the integrity of this project would be. So I can't support it at this process. We identified what we felt was appropriate in funding, and I think we need to move forward. And that's apart from some of the questions. I know folks have raised questions about the project that's being proposed. I think it does lack a lot of definition. I don't know what debt is included. I can't tell for sure whether any individual would actually be debt-free as a consequence, regardless of how many millions of dollars of debt got retired. Is it all of the debt for any individual? I don't know. Does it just medical hospital debt? Is it doctor debt? Is it dentist debt? Is it mental health debt? Which is substantial as well. Now, none of that is answered in this question. And that's before I look at the 990, which I think has another whole series of questions, which gets me back to why did we create a robust process for being evaluative in the analysis of these projects? It was to have all those questions answered before we had to get to the point of the vote. So again, I applaud your initiative. I just don't think this is the right time for us to take on this project. So, last comment. With that, I will go ahead and have the vote taken. Will you please call the roll? This is on the motion to amend the underlying motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the motion to amend Resolution 141, Commissioners Bujak. No. Diaz. Yes. Pakla.
No.
Wooden.
No.
Baker. No. LeGrand. No. Oliver King. No. Hennessy.
No.
McLeod.
No.
Sparks. No. Teal. No. Vice Chair Brevy.
No.
Commissioners Coleman.
No.
Burl.
No.
Ponstein.
No.
Hildenbrand.
No.
DeBoer.
No.
Merchant.
No.
Antor. Green. Chair Steck.
No.
Mr. Chair, you have 1 yay, 19 nays. The motion to amend Resolution 141 fails.
All right, thank you. Now we'll move to the underlying motion to approve the resolution. Any further comment on that? If not, I think we are ready to vote on that one as well. Will you please take the roll?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the motion to adopt, on the motion to adopt Resolution 141, Commissioners Bujak.
Yes.
Diaz. Pakla.
Yes.
Wooden.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
LeGrand.
Yes.
Oliver King.
Yes.
Hennessy.
Yes.
McLeod.
Yes.
Sparks.
Yes.
Teal.
Yes.
Vice Chair Brevy.
Yes.
Commissioners Coleman.
Yes.
Burl.
Yes.
Ponstein.
Yes.
Hildenbrand.
Yes.
DeBoer.
Yes.
Merchant.
Yes.
Antor.
Yes.
Green. Chair Steck.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 19 yeas, 1 nay. The motion passes. Resolution 141 is adopted.
Thank you. We will now move to the next item, 8B, and I will call on Commissioner Sparks.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move Resolution 137 of today's date, the 2024 Management Pay Plan Compensation Program with the Human Resources for Kent County. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there support for that motion? Supported by Commissioner Pakla. Questions or comments on this motion? This is a roll call vote. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the motion to adopt Resolution 137, Commissioners Bujak.
Yes.
Diaz.
Yes.
Pakla.
Yes.
Wooden.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
LeGrand.
Yes.
Oliver King.
Yes.
Hennessy.
Yes.
McLeod.
Yes.
Sparks.
Yes.
Teal. Vice Chair Brevy.
Yes.
Commissioners Coleman.
Yes.
Burl.
Yes.
Ponstein.
Yes.
Hildenbrand.
Yes.
DeBoer.
Yes.
Merchant.
Yes.
Antor.
Yes.
Green. Chair Steck.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 19 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. Resolution 137 is adopted.
Thank you very much. I'll now call on Commissioner Hildebrand for our next motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Resolution 138 at today's date, amendments to collective bargaining agreements for parks, assistant prosecuting attorneys, and attorney referees, brought to us from Human Resources.
Thank you. Is there support for that motion? Supported by Commissioner Coleman. Questions or comments? I see none. This is a roll call vote. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the motion to adopt Resolution 138, Commissioners Bujak.
Yes.
Diaz.
Yes.
Pakla.
Yes.
Wooden.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
LeGrand.
Yes.
Oliver King.
Yes.
Hennessy.
Yes.
McLeod.
Yes.
Sparks.
Yes.
Teal. Vice Chair Brevy.
Yes.
Commissioners Coleman.
Yes.
Burl.
Yes.
Ponstein. Hildenbrand. DeBoer. Merchant. Antor. Green. Chair Stuck.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 19 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. Resolution 138 is adopted.
Thank you. I will now call on Commissioner Oliver King for our next resolution.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move Resolution 139, labor agreement with Teamster Local 214, Montgomery, Nurse, brought to us by Human Resources.
Thank you. Supported by Commissioner LeGrand. Questions, or Commissioner Pakla?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a brief comment on the last three items. I wanted to applaud the conversations that happened to get to these points. I think both from the county side and from the union and individual side, there were some significant advances in these contracts. So appreciation all around.
Good, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Commissioner Diaz.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to echo Commissioner Pakla's comments. As I said in the Legislative Committee, speaking as someone with experience organizing labor unions and what it looks like at that table. As I said again at Legislative, there's not always people bargaining in good faith at those tables. And so I really do want to, again, commend administration, the staff for all their good work. We have good leaders here clearly, and I look forward to seeing, what the new year brings us. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, this is a roll call. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the motion to adopt Resolution 139, Commissioners Boojak. Diaz.
Yes.
Pakla.
Yes.
Wooden.
Yes.
Baker. LeGrand. Oliver King. Hennessy. McLeod.
Yes.
Sparks. Teal. Vice Chair Breby.
Yes.
Commissioners Coleman.
Yes.
Burl.
Yes.
Ponstein. Hildenbrand. DeBoer. Merchant. Antor. Green. Chair Stuck.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 19 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. Resolution 139er is adopted.
Thank you. I'll now move to item E and call on Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you, Chair. I move Resolution 140 of today's date, the Lead Hazard Reduction Capacity Building Grant from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, coming to us from the Administrator's Office.
Thank you. Is there support for that motion?
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Sparks. Questions or comments? I see none. This also is a roll call, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the motion to adopt Resolution 140, Commissioners Boojak. Diaz.
Yes.
Pakla.
Yes.
Wooden.
Yes.
Baker. LeGrand.
Yes.
Oliver King. Hennessy.
Yes.
McLeod.
Yes.
Sparks.
Yes.
Teal. Vice Chair Breby.
Yes.
Commissioners Coleman.
Yes.
Burl.
Yes.
Ponstein. Hildenbrand. DeBoer.
Yes.
Merchant.
Yes.
Antor. Green. Chair Stuck.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 19 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. Resolution 140 is adopted.
Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of our resolutions, and I'll move on to our second opportunity for public comment. If there is anyone here from the public that wishes to address the Board of Commissioners on matters within our general jurisdiction, you may do so at this point. Please identify yourself by name and address, and you have up to 3 minutes. Good morning.
How's everybody doing? I'm D. Jones. I stay at 967 Tamarack Avenue. Excited for 2024. Got some cool things I'm working on. I got another grant for $5,000 to do an esports competition. So I'll be doing a NBA 2K esports competition at the 4-Star Theater. We'll be giving away a $2,000 cash prize. I'll be educating people on politics, because I know the presidential election is coming up, but the local election, the county elections, the state elections are just important. You guys have a critical role in everyday lives, my everyday lives, and people need to understand that they need to get out and vote. I'm tired of low voting turnout, and I'm going to be doing a lot of things to be educated and working with a lot of political organizations to get in underserved communities and try to help turn out some of the votes. I don't care if people vote Republican or Democrat. I just want people to get out there and have their voices heard, because we have a lot of people across Kent County and across the United States that don't vote, and we get bad politicians that usually get bad things in communities and bad legislation, which affects people all across the United States. We'll be educating people on renewable energy, solar energy, healthcare, as I hear people talking about healthcare. My stepdad actually died of cancer, and I watched the cancer just eat him up, and it was bad. And we didn't have the funding to be able to help my stepdad, but I really care about that, and we'll have United Healthcare there because I believe healthcare should be a universal thing. Believe it should be free. I believe education should be free. I know that the Federal Reserve was funded by some powerful people named the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. I'm not a theorist or anything like that, but I know this is true. I know that there's some powerful people that funded the government, and usually people that fund things usually have influence over things. And so I definitely look forward to doing this esports competition. I look forward to giving back to the underserved communities. I'm going to keep grinding, as you guys see. I've showed up. I'm being consistent. I have a vision. I'm going to be speaking at the Caesars Palace in Las Vegas on a panel, and I'm going to be getting an award. I really look forward to the work I'm doing. I know the level of leadership. I know the level of execution I can do. I also got accepted into Harvard. I think people sleep on my business acumen. And I don't really like that, to be honest. I don't like that. I'm very passionate. I know I'm super intelligent, and I'm going to do some powerful things. I'm even partnering with Comic-Con to do an esports competition at the DeVos Place 2024 Comic-Con. It's a lot of people that's going to be there, and we're actually going to be doing this esports competition February 17th, which is actually the day that people start voting. So I'm going to have some powerful, powerful stuff happening. You guys are probably going to see me on the news and everywhere, but I look forward to doing this competition and hopefully getting the Kent County Sheriff's Department to come support this event. It's going to be a $2,000 cash prize, and I look forward to just giving back to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Dane Gates. I'm a resident of the 3rd Ward. I wanted to say today that the invocation was very inspirational and hopeful for me. And I would also like to reiterate, I happen to be here for the Finance Committee, and to reiterate the fact for this body that medical debt is the #1 cause of bankruptcy in America. So helping with that medical debt would help a lot of residents in this county. And one thing that is important too is to understand poverty. I've learned as I do this work, a lot of people don't understand poverty. Most people in the world want to be independent and to do those things that need to be done for themselves. But it's simply impossible with the lack of resources. Nobody can spend money that they don't have. And just informational, they are starting to create credit cards for medical debt. They are totally for that. And you could, of course, go shopping, but I found that I didn't think I would live long enough to see that part. And it's important to understand, to be creative and to do things differently, because if we do what we've always done, we get what we've always gotten. And I personally am not happy at all where we are today. I believe as people and as a nation, we can do so much better. And accountability and transparency are essential to any governing body. Simply stating an opinion for the public record is insufficient to serve as representation. Actions speak louder than words. The residents of Kent County deserve better, and they deserve your best. Trust and integrity earn public trust. We are watching. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, my name is Martha Cooper, 1361 Columbia Northeast. I came today to speak for people who don't really show up here, but they are all your constituents. I came to speak on homelessness and the housing crisis. It is no secret that we have a major housing crisis. I'd like to make sure that at the end I leave room for a couple of solutions that I'd like to propose to you. But to illustrate the point, Dégagé only provides housing at night for women. And they are expanded to 60 beds, but they're serving over 100 women. And I want to point out specifically that one of the fastest growing is the elderly. They're 30% of their clients are over 50. I'm 65. I take meds every day. If I forget them, my health will suffer. And I am able to do that because I have a home. I'm 13 and a half years maybe sober, but I'll tell you what I had that helped me to get to 90 meetings in 90 days. I had a home, all right? I'm not a person that's wastable, and people are being wasted out there. I'm watching public-private partnerships with $15 million. At the very same time, I see a community letter from all of the shelter providers saying that they're just out of space. They don't have room for staff. And so Mel Trotter is doing all that they can, supposedly, but they don't have the staff. And even if they had the staff, they are out of room. We will see 100 to 300 people, they're estimating, I think probably more, being turned away from shelters in the middle of the winter. I want to point out that Cincinnati had 4 deaths from exposure, and we are on the precipice of that kind of thing right now in this county. I think that we are spending money on mental health care at the county level and on rehabilitation services. The rehabilitation services are pretty pathetic. There's waiting lists, and then it's only 2 weeks, and that is not enough. We've got people going into and then getting out and being homeless. How do they do 90 meetings in 90 days when you are reduced to simply being able to eat and try to stay warm and rest? I mean, nobody can take care of their health. So the money that you're spending is recycling and over going through another cycle, and things are not being resolved. $15 million is a hard thing to see on a public-private partnership when I believe that most of you don't think about the homeless unless you see them and not in the context of doing something about it, which is your job. I want to see a county-wide millage for affordable housing.
Thank you. Anyone else? Good morning.
Espero que me entiendan. ¿Hay alguien que me pueda traducir? Can someone?
Oh, is the question, can you translate? Would you be willing to do that for us? Okay. Why don't you stay there because you'll have a microphone to you at that point?
Ok. Y la pregunta es también del tiempo, que si puede ser doble.
The question is also about the time, can it be double?
Porque está traduciendo.
Because it is being translated.
Well, I won't double it, but we'll be gracious.
No lo voy a doblar, pero vamos a dar un poco más de tiempo.
Voy a tratar de ser más rápida.
I will be a little bit faster then.
Mi nombre es Gemma y vivo aquí en Kent County.
My name is Gemma. I live here in Kent County.
Y estoy hablando, bueno, el tiempo, espero que pueda venir más trabajadores porque el tiempo que está personas juntas, la comisión, es difícil para los trabajadores de venir.
I hope more people can come because the times that this board meets is very difficult for workers and people in general to show up.
Entonces, estoy hablando por mi comunidad que trabaja y que necesita licencias para todos.
And so I am speaking on behalf of my community that is working currently, and I am speaking as far as the driver's licenses for all campaign.
Nosotros, la comunidad indocumentada, necesitamos llegar a nuestro trabajo.
We, the undocumented community, need to get to our jobs.
Como estaba escuchando o tratando de entender el dinero que se invierte para aquí en centro de Grand Rapids.
I was listening and trying to understand the money that is invested here in the center or downtown Grand Rapids.
Y hablar de los trabajadores y cómo llegar a su trabajo en términos de transporte.
And to understand and speak about workers and how they get to their jobs as far as transportation.
Y qué bueno que las personas que hablaron acerca de desarrollar dinero aquí en el centro.
And as far as the people who spoke about spending money to do economic development here in downtown.
también que se preocupen de cómo los trabajadores van a llegar a su trabajo.
They also need to worry about how those workers are going to get to those places of work.
Por eso estoy aquí, para que si este grupo de comisionados pueda hacer una resolución a favor de licencias para indocumentados que está en el Congreso de Michigan.
And that's why I'm here to ask this county board to pass a resolution speaking in favor of the Drive Safe bills that is currently in the state legislature.
Es importante para la comunidad que tengamos la manera de llegar a nuestro trabajo,
It's important for our community that we have the ability to get to our places of work.
porque nuestro trabajo que está aquí ya se está siendo utilizado.
Because our jobs that are here, our labor is already being used.
Entonces, la licencia ya la teníamos antes del 2008
And so we already had driver's licenses before 2008.
y otras entidades gubernamentales locales ya han pasado resoluciones.
And other local government entities have already passed resolutions speaking in favor of this bill.
Por ejemplo, el condado de Kalamazoo,
For example, Kalamazoo County,
el condado de Washtenaw,
Washtenaw County,
el condado de Oakland
Oakland County,
y muchas ciudades como Grand Rapids,
and various local cities like Grand Rapids,
como la más reciente Muskegon.
and the most recent one, Muskegon.
Entonces pido que si pueden hacer la resolución a favor de
That's
licencias.
why I again asked that this board pass a resolution speaking in favor of driver's licenses for all.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? I see none, so we will move to our next item on the agenda, which is the administrator's report.
Yes, I just have a couple brief comments today. I wanted to mention that I was privileged to be a speaker for the state of Rockford this week. Every year, they have the state and the city kind of give the state of the state and state of the city. They hadn't had the county attend yet, and so I was able to provide an update on Kent County. I've often referred to county government as the invisible layer of government, and so it's nice to be able to get out there and communicate. Commissioner DeBoer was there as well and was able to also contribute to that conversation. Also, this is probably the most important thing that I can't mess up this morning, but new parking cards are available with MEG. So if you could stop and pick that up, they go active on Tuesday. So if you show up Tuesday next week and want to park, you're going to need that new parking card. And it's a new system. If for whatever reason it doesn't work, then you just hit the button and call for help and they'll let you through. So, but I would just, if you could, pick those cards up today. Then lastly, this is more just, I think it's important to educate as we go, both for those maybe in the room, but also those listening. Just wanted to just say that county finance is set up. We have dozens of funds. They're dictated by the state of the Chart of Accounts, which is mandated by the Uniform Budget and Accounting Act of 1968 in the state of Michigan. And so I just wanted to make sure that our viewers and our people here don't have the misassumption that the board had a choice before them of $15 million for amphitheater or $15 million to help housing or medical debt or something else. The $15 million the board allocated for the amphitheater came from hotel motel tax. The board isn't allowed to take that $15 million and put it into homeless or those kinds of things. We're very heavily regulated over what can be done with each of those buckets of funds. And so I just wanted to make sure people understand that. So that's all I have for today.
All right, thank you. Next item is reports. Are there any reports from commissioners? Commissioner LeGrand.
Thank you, Chair. Last week, the Board of Network 180 met, and it marked our first meeting operating as a CCHBC. This is a federal program. It's a new way of doing mental health, and I want all the commissioners to be aware for their constituents of what this might mean for them. To be a CCHBC, we have to provide a comprehensive range of services. The idea is that it's easier for people to put together different services and not have to go to different providers. Also, they must provide service to anyone, regardless of ability to pay. There's a requirement that we must get people into care very quickly, and that there are crisis services available 24/7. That will obviously work together with our crisis center, which will be coming online soon. But it's going to be very good for our constituents, who need these kind of services to get help quickly and very comprehensively. Thank you.
Great, thank you. If I can supplement that report, I think also for the first time that I've been around, Network 180 that provides the services at the jail was able to return $200,000+ for that because we were able to do it at less cost. Yay, worth noting. Anyone else? Commissioner Antor.
Thank you, Chair. Just a reminder, tomorrow we have our fire board meeting at the MSU Extension Office starting at 8:30. If anybody is unaware or hasn't kept up with what we do there, it's really important work, and it affects most of the communities here that participate, and it's a really good program. So I encourage you to either to watch it tomorrow or just look into it a little bit further so we understand moving forward how important it is to keep funding that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other reports? See no other reports, we'll move to the next item, which is miscellaneous. Any commissioner have a miscellaneous item? Commissioner Hildebrand.
Thank you, Chair Steck. I did put an invitation in all your mailboxes for a holiday reception on Monday evening at the Kids Food Basket. In my real life, outside of the County Commission, I do work to support that great organization. They provide over 10,000 sack suppers every school day to children in 4 counties in West Michigan. It's a wonderful organization, and they're opening up the greenhouse to honor all the elected officials in our community. So hope you can stop by, and if you haven't been there before, I know many of you are very familiar with the organization, but I would love to have you out there and see the organization and support them. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Ponstein? Commissioner Bujac?
Thank you, Chair Steck. I did want to mention that I am in favor of the bill that our guest had mentioned this morning at the state level. And for those who aren't familiar with the bill, in layman terms, it offers the opportunities for migrant workers to obtain driver's license. And why is that important? I talked to our King County Sheriff, and she says it's very important because right now we have migrant workers that are driving, and when they get pulled over by the police, whether it's the city police or county sheriffs, they have no identification. So the sheriff has a difficult time dealing with the situation because they have an unlicensed driver and they have no idea who this person is. So the concept is to provide the opportunity for these migrant workers to get a state-issued driver's license. My concern when I heard this was, how do we assure that a migrant worker who's been issued a state-issued driver's license doesn't vote? My concern is voting rights. So I talked to our county clerk and I said, can you assure me that if these migrant workers are issued a state-issued driver's license, that they will not be able to participate in an election? And she assured me that those driver's licenses have a very implicit markation on it. It says not able to vote. So just to let you know, this is a concern, and I do support the bill allowing migrant workers to have state-issued driver's license. And I've talked to the sheriff, and she's supporting that position.
Thank you. Now, Commissioner Ponstein?
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Steck. So over the past weekend, I was lucky enough to get a second year on the National Association of Counties Board of Directors. We met there in Minneapolis, and a lot of my comments this morning were spurned on people that I talked to. The association did a poll of issues of concern for U.S. counties, and it was amazing. We're always told by the media, the political parties, and everyone else that we don't agree with each other, we can't work together, we can't even agree on anything. I gave Mr. Vanderberg a copy of some of those poll results where they broke out things. And what was amazing to me, it didn't matter how old you were, whether you were Republican or Democrat, you're from the West Coast, East Coast, from the North or the South. 3 issues consistently ranked 1, 2, and 3. And those issues that everyone agreed on were the homelessness problem, affordable housing, and mental health. There was no one even close to those top three. So this whole idea that we don't agree on anything is a false narrative that's got to be corrected, and we've got to do things different. And I meant it, during the invocation about, being with your neighbors and getting to know them. I mean, how many people, when you ran an election, you now get these postcards or election cards? You don't want to go knock on that door because one, they signed this petition, they work here, or they belong to a union, and the whole list of reasons why you shouldn't knock on that door. And I've always campaigned go to every door. Because people got to say and see you in person to know that, yeah, we may disagree on a couple issues, but I'm not this evil person that the media and the political parties make the opposite side. I mean, it's so toxic, because in that same poll, one of the big things that started to rise up is that people are aware of what's happening in politics, and they're not happy. And we've got to start doing things different. So just so in closing, in a moment, I'm going to be adjourning until January. So I thought maybe we had one more meeting, because normally at the last meeting, Santa brings this beautiful Costco cake for all of us to enjoy. I don't know if that's going to happen. It might have to be a New Year's, event. But I just want to wish everyone, whatever your religious views are, even if you don't have religious views, this is the time of the year where people get together, get to know each other, spend with your families, and just get acquainted again. So I wish everyone all the blessings of this time of year, and look forward to serving with you all again next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Chair. First, I want to echo my colleague, Commissioner Bujak's comments. I too support the Drive Safe legislation. Obviously, our standing rules prohibit us from taking up a non-binding resolution, but I also, for the record, wanted to express my own support for the package. For the same reasons Commissioner Bujak pointed that he said far more eloquently than I could have. And additionally, I wanted to at least bring up a point that we've seen in the news coming from our animal shelter, that we are over capacity, or we've reached a capacity that we are that's not normal for us at the shelter, and asking folks to carefully consider adoption if that's the right option for them. And also noting, as I see in the story, that until December 16th, the shelter is partnering with the Bissell Pet Foundation, reducing the adoption fees to $50. Now, I myself am terribly allergic to anything with animal fur, which pains me, because every time I've seen a story like this, I've thought to myself I should pay a visit to our animal shelter if it weren't for the fact that I probably would not be able to breathe at my house if that happened. So, if anyone who's listening can do me a favor, and if you're thinking about doing this, if you aren't deathly allergic to animal fur, please consider adopting a pet this season, given the fact that the adoption fee has been reduced. And with that, I will also wish everyone a happy holiday season, a Merry Christmas, and other Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, and other holidays that are occurring this season. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
You can get shots for that, Commissioner.
Way to guilt trip me even more.
Commissioner Coleman.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to quickly say that I am in favor of Santa bringing cake any time of the year. And also, I saw on the Sheriff's Department feed on X that yesterday they were helping some officers in the city of Wyoming, and one of the sheriff's officers was hit by a car. And I just want to say my thoughts and prayers with that particular deputy. I hope they are well and able to be released from the hospital soon. And just want to express my gratitude to all of those who serve in our Sheriff's Department and in our local police departments. It's tough work, but that we all benefit from. And so I just want to express my gratitude for all of those who serve in that way and put their own health and lives at risk for the rest of us. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, for those comments. Commissioner Hennessy.
Thank you. At the risk of stealing your thunder, Mr. Chair, I will note that he was a speaker at the reopening, the relocation of the Walker Senior Center is operated by Senior Neighbors. And Senior Neighbors also opened up a permanent center earlier this year in Lowell. And both of these projects were possible with the use of the ARPA monies, along with monies from the AAA agency. And it was a very, very well-attended event. And people were signing up memberships to join and to become a part of this center. They also have the AAA and the Walker Center have a new emphasis on the aging and exercise. And it's really a very good program that they operate in several locations. And so it's really good to see how our ARPA money is being used and to see see these initiatives taking place. I didn't quite catch this morning why we didn't have the Drain Commissioner reports, but we have these annual reports, and our schedule has been such that we haven't always heard all of them at the time they were scheduled. Can we receive the written reports?
Absolutely.
Yes. I would
That will be
appreciate
distributed.
that. Thank you. And Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah.
Yes. And thank you for your comments on the event at Walker. That was a great event. It was good to see you there. As I noted, my last experience in that facility was for the Historic Commission, and it's a bit ironic that we now moved it to the senior center that I could enroll in. So.
There are shots for that.
Thank you. Commissioner Antor.
Thank you, Chair. One thing we're all pretty good at is putting words together and talking. We do a lot of talking. And I was just reminded of the words of, I think it was St. Francis, who at one point said, preach the Gospels daily and only when necessary use words. And the old song that says, they'll know we are Christians by our love. And so it's not so much what we say about what we do. And I would just remind everybody, man, we need to love each other through all this stuff. First and foremost, if you love each other first, everything else will take care of itself. So let's break down some walls, love each other, respect each other's opinion, fight when you have to fight, definitely get it out there. But have everything that comes out of your mouth resonate from your heart, in my case, through Jesus Christ, my Savior. So I wish everybody has a great Christmas, and, hug your kids and your grandkids, and just treat the season the way it was designed to be treated. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else? Commissioner Diaz.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to echo everything Commissioner Antor just said. Very much so. Thank you for those. Quick question for Al. As far as our key cards, would you prefer for us to give you our current card?
The city is collecting the current cards, yes. So,
I guess my question is, would you rather us do that as we're collecting the new one? Or
I would say if you don't have it on you, I would still collect the new one, but just try to get it to Meg as soon as possible.
Okay,
yeah.
I'll do that. I'll be quick. Want to congratulate the person who got accepted to Harvard. Congrats, that's big. And I was at a Voters Not Politicians town hall yesterday on a panel. There's good work being done with increasing voter turnout, and so I look forward to working with those nonprofit organizations, both in my personal and my day job capacity and in this capacity. But there was also some people, not only at that meeting, but today also, who expressed a desire for us to change the time that we meet. It is very hard for people to make it down here at this time. And so hopefully we can have conversations around whether this is the best time for us to be meeting, so that we can allow more public comment and more people to speak to us. Because I, for one, very much enjoy listening to what the public has to say. I want to really much thank Commissioner Buczek for his comments. Couldn't have put it better myself. And so to that end, I look forward to seeing what we can do as far as actually passing a resolution. I understand the intent for why our current rules are written the way they are. I tend to agree with the chair that I don't want to be debating things that for the most part, I don't want to be debating things that we don't really have control over because it wastes our time. But with that being said, I do think that there are certain instances where it is valuable to have a non-binding resolution from this board. For example, if we would have put out a non-binding resolution earlier this year, as soon as we found out that we weren't going to be getting state funding for the Fallisburg Dam, maybe that would have put a little bit more pressure both on our federal government and on our lobbyists to do what they can to give us, not to give us money, but to help us fund this dam so that we're not at risk of flooding the city of Lowell. So I, if anything, see non-binding resolutions as an additional tool for this board for us to tell the public and to tell other levels of government what our priorities are in a public way, because we can have conversations behind closed doors with our lobbyists or whatever the case may be, but at the end of the day, if we're not being listened to, it's just another tool in our toolbox. And so, again, to the end of not making non-binding resolutions political and wasting time, I would say that if we amended our rules to require a 2/3 majority to pass those resolutions so that it's clear that it's a majority, not only a majority, but a 2/3 majority of the board that's in favor of those resolutions, I think that would be a worthwhile conversation, especially in regards to the Drive Safe bills. But even if that is not done, I do want to let you all know that I do plan on having conversations, hopefully with each and every one of you, to see if we're not going to change our rules, then maybe we can suspend our rules at a meeting early next year to pass this resolution. And so I look forward to having those conversations. With that, again, happy holidays to everybody. Happy Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. I, for one, am going on vacation next week for 3 weeks. And so, God willing, I'll be coming back with a little bit darker skin than what I got now. So happy holidays, and I'll see you all soon.
All right. Anyone else? If not, Chair prerogative, I got a few comments. First of all, at the risk of being the Grinch of the year, we've not canceled that meeting on the 21st yet. So don't sell that cake, Commissioner Ponstein. We will take a hard look at that, so stay tuned. We'll try to get that notice out as soon as possible. There simply are some things that do need to have end-of-the-year verification and confirmation, so it is possible. I'll do everything in my power to avoid having to do that. So if we do cancel it, please remember I did that. And if we do cancel it, this would be our last meeting, and so certainly wish all of you the best of holidays with your family and your neighbors, and hope that some of you are able to join us this evening for a little alternative means of getting together with our evening over at the DeVos Place, or DeVos Center, I guess it is. So with that, I will call on Commissioner Ponstein for the last resolution of the day, maybe the year even.
Thank you, Chair. I move to adjourn, subject to the call of the chair, Thursday, January 11th, 2024, at 8:30 a.m. for an official meeting of the Board of Commissioners.
Is that overriding my? Subject to the call of the chair. All right, with that was supported. All those say, support it, say yes. Yes. We are adjourned. Thank you all.